people give a lot of responses. When you say you place a child for adoption, you get a lot of varied responses, but I feel like the most common one is some variation of like, I could never do that, or how could you do that? You know, and it comes in either one of two ways. Sometimes it's like, how could you do that? I could never do that. Like, what a terrible thing to do. And then sometimes it's like, how could you do that? Like, how could you be so strong, you know? And when when I feel like someone's being nasty, I'm just like, you're right, you couldn't do it, you know? But the reality is, the strength comes, we don't have the coping skills we need until we need them. And I feel like the best, because I've watched other people place, and I look at them and I'm going, how is that possible? How are you doing that? I look back, and when people say, how could you do it? I'm like, I don't know, you know, because it was impossible. What I did was impossible. But what I know to be true is that it wasn't my strength. It wasn't my strength. I showed up with my will. I had 5%. I wanted to do what was best for Justin. The rest of it was God's strength that he lent to me. It certainly wasn't my wisdom at 17 years old, you know, to see the whole picture. I see it so much better now, but at the time, really, it was God's wisdom that he was whispering in my ear. And then certainly it was God's comfort and peace that came to me that sustained me to where it didn't kill me, you know, after the fact. And so I think when people say, how could you do that? Part of me just wants to go, I don't know. Or like, I didn't, you know? Yeah. But it's such a funny question. How do you guys respond to that?
It is. I, kind of what you were saying earlier about, I just felt really strongly that my son came through me to be with his family. So it's just logical to me. Like, well, he was never mine, so that's how I did it. It's that simple for me.
I get it all the time. It's funny because we're kind of in agreement with that like you say, oh, I placed my little girl for adoption, and they always just get that like look on their face. How could you do that? And half the time I'm like, how am I supposed to answer that? Like, I don't look at you and say, oh, your dad died. How did you do that? Like, it's a hard thing in life. We all have hard things in life, and we all get through it the best we possibly can. I don't have the answers of how I got through it. If I had the answers, then I would be talking to every single girl that's going to place her child and say, this is how you get through it. I have no clue how I got through it. I don't think any of us do. Yes. We just do it. That's just what you do. When you have a trial in life, it's your job to just get through it and do the very best you can as you move through that trial.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things when you know you have to do something and it matters that much, you make it work. You figure it out. You just do it. And I think the misconception is that birth mothers don't see the seriousness of the situation, and that's why they place. When it's the opposite, that
opposite.
It is glaring us into our soul, and this is why we made the choice. It's not, we couldn't do anything else. This is the only thing that can work. And you just do it. Like anything, you know, in life that has to be done, you figure it out and you make it work.
If it's that important to you, if it's important to you, you will do it.
It was the most conscientious, soul-searching time of my life. I put my whole soul into it. Otherwise, I couldn't have done it. But even my whole soul was only 5% of what would make that possible. Yeah. When I was in the hospital with my Justin, I was holding him, just trying to memorize him, you know, because I had a day and a half, and everything about him was the most interesting thing I'd ever seen. So I'm just like staring at him and just like feeling all this love, and I was singing a lullaby to him, probably weeping at the same time. And the doctor came in and stood in the doorway, and I didn't see him at first. And then he finally spoke, and he goes, "You're not going to go through with it. You won't be able to do it." And because he saw how much I love Justin, he thought that would prevent me from being separated from him. What he didn't understand, though, and what so many people don't understand, is that it was because I loved him that much that I was able to break my own heart and defy my own instinct. Exactly. If I had loved him less, I couldn't have done it, and he'd be with me now. Yeah. It wasn't enough to just feel love for Justin. I had to do what love dictated. And love is a powerful energy.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like I said earlier, I feel like the more love you have for that child, the easier the decision is, because yes, it breaks you, it hurts you, but the more love, the more clearly you can see how this is really what's right for them.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I say that my decision was easy, and some people are like, well, that's a pretty weighty decision to just like think that it's so easy, but that is why. There's such an immense love there that, of course, this is what I'm going to do for you. Of course.
Yeah.
And it's not all misery. And that's what I think a lot of people don't see.
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of great, awesome stuff. It's not all misery.
Yes.
My friend Jill's blog is called The Happiest Sad. And I just think that sums up the bittersweet nature of the whole experience so much. You
Yes.
know, there was a sweetness, even through the most desperately painful parts, that sustained me.
Yes.
You know, there was a peace in it and a confidence in it. I mean, I can't believe how much happiness and joy and love I could feel simultaneously with the most tremendous emotional anguish I've ever experienced, just right at the same time, you know? And that's how you do it. That's how you get through it.